have an individual who is a 25-year veteran with experience when it comes to strategic growth and product innovation in the technology internet space. He has had various experience when it comes to making companies grow. So let's welcome Sakir on 10 Minutes of Hiding Wisdom, where he will tell us about his experience, about why strategic growth is so important for companies, and how to maintain that strategic growth in the first place. Hi, Sakir. How are you doing today?
Good, Manal. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for joining us, Sakir. So can you tell us about where you're currently working, what your company does?
Sure. So I lead strategy and growth for an advanced technology division within Hitachi, part of one of the portfolio companies of Hitachi named Hitachi Vantara. And what I do is look at the financial services industry, and in particular, some of the really difficult problems within that industry that no one else is solving, with the goal of innovating in that space and driving the Hitachi brand within the FS space, particularly around innovation.
Okay, and did you always know you wanted to pursue something in technology, or was it something that you saw a lot of people moving towards specifically because, as in like cloud, Azure, everything like that is the future eventually? So, what got you interested in technology?
You know, I've been at this for a while. 25 years ago, when my career started, the cloud wasn't around. The internet was barely there through email. So did I always know it? Maybe. My academic background is in computer science and music. It's actually in computer music. So that tells me one half of my brain always thought it would go into something to do with technology. The other half was probably more attuned to going into the arts. But, tech is an interesting, rapidly evolving, changing space and sector. So what you think you know today is pretty obsolete tomorrow, right? But I think it's safe to say that, within these 2.5 decades, although I've shifted industries quite a bit from consumer tech to media to financial services to industrial organization like Hitachi, my role has always been either in technology or strategy around technology. It's one or the other.
Okay. That makes sense. Well, very interesting that you mentioned about music and technology. What exactly did you do? Like, what was the synergy between the two? How did you, wasn't like, what kind of career could have you pursued if you decided to go where you decided to use both those in one single career?
Well, it's hard to plan a career around something as unusual as computer music. I think that was the more heart versus head split in my life. I think I've suffered from a bit of an identity crisis where I've never quite resolved whether I'm a art person or a science person, and maybe it's a bit of both. So I think this was me finding a way to connect the two loves that I had, at least intellectual loves. And you'd be surprised how scientific music is at the end of the day. It has a language, it has extraordinary structure. It can actually be programmed. It can be given shape and form through any type of digital transformation. There's a lot of order in music. It's not as chaotic as people initially think. So for me, it was just pursuing what I really loved. I was very curious, so I loved technology. And I'm also very much moved by music, and I'm a musician. And so my academic career was just really pursuing what I really enjoyed. And of course, that's the key to really getting anywhere in life, is ultimately doing what you enjoy or doing what you're naturally good at. It's one of the two. And
that's very true.
If what you enjoy is naturally what you're good at, you're gonna be successful. There's no doubt about it.
That's very true. I think a lot of people usually suffer finding one love and one thing that they're passionate about, but you managed to find two, which is something that's very impressive. And I think the combination of the two, like people can't think of that, and the combination itself sounds absolutely amazing and something worth exploring. So hats off to you for finding something that gave you a reason to pursue something like that. So I'd love to hear, Sakir, regarding whether the company that you're currently working with is hiring, and what kind of people are you looking for? Like, what is the organizational culture within the company that helps people grow, that helps in people thriving?
Well, I wish I'd known this question would come. I would have looked at what the open recs are within my company. But I'm afraid you and your audience will have to check that out on hitachivantara.com. There are lots of openings. Sadly, none in my team right now. But certainly within the company, I think on all of the enterprise disciplines, sales, marketing, product engineering, operations. I think if you are an individual contributor, if you're not so far along in your career looking for senior management or leadership roles, I think you'll find lots of openings in Hitachi Vantara right now. It's a great time to join because we basically put an entire new C-suite together, and there is quite a bit of new business model exploration that's going on with Hitachi Vantara. Hitachi Vantara and Hitachi's IT contribution has traditionally been in the storage space. So building the best-in-class file storage, block storage, all types of storage. And what's happened over the last couple of decades is there's been a strategic intent to not just store, but also unlock the value of what's actually stored. In other words, to get way more into the data side of things, not just from a storage and governance perspective, but also unleashing analytics, insights, all of that great stuff. And marrying all of that with Hitachi's traditional strength and base in sort of the operational technology. Because, we build nuclear power plants and we build, wind farms, desalination plants. This is a massive company that undertakes very, very, very large projects. So taking that industrial base, taking the best-in-class storage, and unlocking the data that's collected and stored on this storage, that's the new Hitachi. And what does that mean? That means a huge number of things, which you'll see when you go to the website.
Well, if people are looking for jobs and specifically interested in making a difference, I think they might want to check out their website specifically to understand what's going on with the company. And if you want to be a part of it, you know where to apply. Well, Sakir, I think I'd love to hear regarding just like the last question would definitely be because you had such a wonderful experience and coming from a very interesting background of degrees, I'd love to hear if you have any advice for job seekers out there. What would it be specifically because you've had this passion for technology? How would you succeed in a field that revolves around technology?
I think a couple of things. One is it depends. What stage are you in your career? If you are several decades into it, that strategy is going to be very different from if you're just starting out, a new college grad, or if you're in high school. I'm not sure who your audience is or who this question will ultimately apply to. I'm guessing it's the younger, less experienced group. Would that be correct?
Yes,
Okay.
You got that.
Okay. Yeah, so in that case, I think we've already talked about it. There's a couple of things that are very important. One is you've got to put yourself out there. There's just a lot of things these days. And just like any advertising problem, if you're trying to get noticed, you have to get noticed somehow. So whether it's your GitHub code that's been adopted by a broad community, or you've written some amazing article and put that on LinkedIn and it's gotten some traction, or providing some type of way to differentiate yourself in a very, very, very crowded space is important. It's sort of the job of the resume. What does a resume do? It all it does is it says, well, I've received 250 resumes, but all I have time is to interview 10. And so somehow you have to differentiate yourself and not be part of the 240 that will not get interviewed. So that's really important. Put yourself out there and have a uniqueness and a differentiation in what you're saying or doing or producing. Second thing is, it helps to really, really love technology. It helps to really think about where it's all going and think about what type of world is coming about from from the big tech or any of the other techs the emerging technologies. It helps to be well versed in it, and to be able to speak the language and understand the direction and have some view on what the trajectory is, and really have an opinion, right? I think that's really important. And we don't want to say things like, well, cloud computing is really important. Yeah, no kidding. Um, what more do we have to say about that other than IDC and Gartner market size figures, right? Um, Again, it goes back to differentiation. And thirdly, I would say is you really you have to love this. You have to really enjoy it. I mean, this is a very interesting space industry. It's changing all the time, and so to keep up with the changes, the constant innovation and novelty, there's some wear and tear. And unless it's something that is really gets to your core, whether you're a technical writer or a coder or a marketer or in business development, it doesn't matter. The space has to be interesting. So bottom line is, love it if you really want to be with it. Otherwise, don't, because you're just wasting your time, like any bad relationship.
Well, that's a great analogy, and I loved how you put it. Well, Zakir, our time is up. Thank you so much for
Sure.
coming on the show, for sharing
Thanks for
about your
inviting me.
experience and such wonderful advices. Once this is edited, I will definitely reach out to you. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank
All
you.
right, take
Of
care.
course.